So I got kind of a bone to pick here, okay? I would like to send this out to Cubs management because, oh, by the way, welcome to Cubfidential. This is the best after late night Cubs coverage. But more on that in a minute. You played with our emotions all this time. We had Contreras do a whole emotional, what he thought was a goodbye. You took with our emotions. You had us thinking they were gone, and then okay, great, they're staying with the Cubs. Get it? You know what I mean? But how could you put us through this, knowing your two best players? You I mean, it's unfair, to take us on this roller coaster like this. It's very Jerry Jones esque. I don't know if that was Ross's call. I personally blame Ross. You know what? I got a better idea. I'm going to tag in my tag partner, JB Ellis, so he can give his thoughts on it. I don't know what to say here.
Tom Ricketts, Laura Ricketts, Todd Ricketts, Jed Hoyer, Carter Hawkins. You five should be ashamed of yourselves for what you did to Wilson Contreras and Ian Happ this last week. I mean, seeing their emotional goodbye, the theatrics we had to watch, the long embrace in the dugout, it was a scripted for Hollywood movie. Meanwhile, the trade deadline comes and goes tonight, and luckily, we still have two of our favorite Cubs still in the Cubs uniform. They played tonight, they were in the lineup, and they're going to be still here come tomorrow. The trade deadline's come and gone, but the five of you, let's get it together. Let's try and build. Let's build off Contreras and Happ. Let them be the leaders that we talk about all year. Let's, look and see what this team can do. Let's see how we can improve for next year. What needs to be done, how we can go about finding the right guys to gel with the young talent you have in the farm system, going out to our free agency, getting a couple of big names that can help the lineup. And let's make this team a contender. One World Series in all these years. You had a great core that only got it done once. You got Ross, who can't manage his way out of a paper bag right now, as your manager. Let's go in a direction. Let's bring somebody in. Girardi's available. Might be the guy you want to bring back. He played in Chicago for a while. You seem to like catchers. You got Ross as the manager. One catcher to another. Girardi's had success in New York. Had a little bit of bad luck in Philly, but maybe you go in that direction. But there's definitely other people out there besides Ross. Keeping Contreras and Happ was great, but there was no need for theatrics all week. We need to do better than this. We need to stop managing this team like we're the Tampa Bay Rays or the Oakland Athletics. We're not. We're the Chicago Cubs. Have some pride. This team's been around for how long? Your stadium is older than some of these teams. And to manage this team like it's a second-rate team in a second-rate city, that's San Francisco. That was my rant on San Francisco. Go back to Sideline Sports last summer. Second-rate city, second-rate team, San Francisco Giants. The Chicago Cubs are not second-rate. Let's stop treating them like that. Jay, who do we have coming on? Send somebody in. I don't even know who's coming in. That's how heated I am.
Hey, JB, I get your frustration. I mean, on the show last week, we talked about, this is the end for Ian Happ as well as Wilson Contreras. We weren't liking it. I figured, hey, you know what? Let them go somewhere where they can win. And yet we don't trade them. I'm a little confused on what we're doing in the front office. I really am, just like you. I mean, they told us they're going to leave, and yet they're staying. So I don't know if it's Jed Hoyer not finding the right deal for them or what, but it's just they totaled with our emotions, and yet they're still here.
Listen, I get the whole, you got to find the right deal. You got to do the right thing. Listen, when you're in second to last, third to last, and you're not going anywhere, everybody's on the trading block.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. But something had to be told to these guys that Contreras was so emotional and Happ, they embraced in the dugout like they were never going to see Wrigley Field ever again.
I agree. I saw that. It was just like, it was a sad moment.
And to run this team in such a bad fashion that they gave up on, 3 core guys last year that they could have resigned 1 or 2 of them and, filled in the spaces and still had a great core and contended for this division, because the Brewers and Cardinals are not that great. You're not talking about the Yankees, Dodgers, or Mets this year. So they could have very well been in conversation to win the National League Central. And yet they gave up on last year. They did nothing to improve this year. And then you toy with the 2 guys that you have left, that are your core to your team, that basically, we're going to get rid of you. I just don't get it.
The way I've looked at this is Jed Hoyer's trying to do it his way, and I just don't think he's fit to be a general manager yet. I mean, he's learning on the job is what I'm saying. I just don't think he knows how to build a team. Yeah, we can sit here and blame David Ross, but I just think it's Jed Hoyer.
So, you know what? I'm going to say we go to a Yankee fan and bring in Will to manage the team, because, I think he could do a better job. You don't get a shout out, Will. You get a job to manage the Chicago Cubs, because right now you can't do worse than what we have.
No, you really can't. I mean, David Ross didn't have much experience other than being a catcher in the league. And yet, all he does is he's like us. He watches baseball. Why not throw him in the ring and see what he can do?
Yeah, I mean, so, all right, first of all, your impressions on the Cubs trade deadline, what they've done.
Really, we didn't do a whole heck of a lot in terms of making the team better. I do think, though, we did get rid of David Robertson for Philadelphia for a pitching prospect, Ben Brown. He's only been in single A. I get it. I get where they're coming from. We got to make the farm system better. And then we sent Michael Gibbons to the Mets. Honestly, Michael Gibbons was our best pitcher out of the bullpen. He was 6-2 with a 2.66 ERA with 51 strikeouts. Actually has a chance to do something special with the Mets. But we got Sal Gonzalez, a single A player. A lot of what these deals were is just to help the farm system and build the farm system up. And I get what they're trying to do. These are all, pitching prospects. But the problem is when are we going to see them? Are we going to see them, 2 or 3 years? We don't know. We really don't know what we got back. I thought initially, trying to build the farm system is great, but I want to win now. I don't know if the farm system is really going to help us go through that rebuilding process.
So when you look at, first of all, you have Contreras, who his times, right, I would say is limited in Chicago at this point. Obviously, you can see he loves playing for the Cubs. He loves Wrigley Field, loves the city. But after something like this, what does it take to rebuild a relationship and say, we did trade you for whatever reason, whether the offer wasn't there, we thought about it last minute and realized we want to build around you. We just don't know what we're doing in the front office. The phone didn't ring. Whoever our phone provider failed us. How do you build that relationship back with him?
I personally would sit him down with just him and Jed Hoyer, maybe, Tom Ricketts, and just talk it out and say, hey, this is what happened. We wanted to give you a chance to win. Unfortunately, we couldn't find the best deal. We want you to be part of Chicago. The only problem is he's going to be a free agent after this year. So does he really want to come back? I'd love for Wilson Contreras to stay here. But, like you said, how do you build that trust again? I don't know if you really can. The question remains, will his agent get, when he becomes a free agent, will he talk to Jed Hoyer? That's where I think the trust is going to be built. If you can get a better deal and say, hey, let's keep him here for the rest of his career, then great. But if he says, hey, you know what? I have a better deal. I'm going to take it. See you later. It's just, you have to get the general manager back on par with him.
So the Ricketts, since they've owned the team, let's look at what they did last year with the fire sale. Bryant, Rizzo, and Baez, huge parts of the World Series. To cut bait on them and go in a totally different direction where you were in the wild card race, but you probably weren't going to make the playoffs anyway last year. And all 3 were free agents. So you said, forget it. We're not going to sign them. We're not going to spend the money. we're going to continue to build our farm system. Now, what's the game plan? Is it 2 years from now? Is it 4 years from now? And then how do you keep guys like Contreras, who are going to become a free agent at some point, and say, stay with us? We're going to build around you with this young talent. Because, when you look back at some of these teams that have done really well, go with the Dodgers, the Yankees, even the Mets, their success for winning has been a great young core from the farm system, which the Cubs should have in the next couple of years, and key free agent signings. But the Ricketts don't seem to spend the money. So how do you do that?
You're going to have to figure out a way that you can bring in some of these key guys that, are utility people, whoever that is, like what we got for Manstrinsky in that trade, which we'll get to later. I think if you can get utility players like that to build around, you'll be fine. But honestly, we have to build a bullpen. We got rid of a lot of guys. So if you can find veteran bullpen people in free agency to say, hey, on the cheap end too, to come to Chicago, that'd be great. But you also have to have veterans. Yes, Wilson Contreras is a veteran, Ian Happ, but you need more than that. I'm always an opponent where, yes, you can build the farm system, but you really have to bring in key free agents. You can't just do the farm system. The thing is the guys that we got in the trades today, we don't know how they're going to do. We don't know what's going to happen with these farm system people. Like Morel, for instance, he did great when he came up. Are we going to have that with everybody else? I don't know. So in order for Contreras to really stay, you have to bring some veterans in and build the farm system, but it's mostly just the key free agents. You have to find key free agents to build a bullpen because that's the only way you're going to be successful.
I mean, you brought up a great point, the bullpen. So if you look the last 2 years, I mean, we talk about Rizzo, Bryant, and Baez. Obviously they're the big, sexy names that everyone thinks of. But Major League Baseball, how do you win games? Pitching. And the Cubs have done the last 2 years what a team that's not going to win was going to do. They traded their good relievers. And when you trade good relievers, you're basically condemning your team to lose.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you replace these key relievers?
You got to look at free agency. I know the Ricketts family does not want to look at, like the big time free agents, but you need middle relief. And we basically got rid of middle relief pitchers, and we don't really have a closer now. So you have to find that in free agency. I know they don't want to spend a lot of money, but the only way you're going to win is to find those key bullpen free agents. Otherwise, we're not going to be successful. You can have, I know Kyle Hendricks is on the injured list, but let's say he stays next year. If he wins, 16, 18 games, that's because the bullpen's doing well. If you look at every playoff team, what do they have? They have pitching. That's what we want to be. You have to figure out a way to build a bullpen that's either through some of the farm system, and I'm fine doing that, but you also have to have free agents. If you don't, you're going to have these young guys pitching at the major league level, and who knows, maybe they'll get sit down. You're going to go through the growing pains like we did this year. You still have to figure out a way to find a big-time free agent in the bullpen to say, hey, you know what, we're rebuilding, but we might be good in 2 to 3 years. Come here and pitch for us. It may be growing pains for the first 2 years, but if we give you a 5-year contract, within the next 5 years, we'll be a playoff team. That's basically how you have to do it.
If you're Stroman right now, do you regret signing with the Cubs this year?
I would say so, because I think he came in thinking, you know what, this is a young team. We're going to be exciting. We're going to compete for the division. And where are we? We're not even in first place. We're not even looking at a wild card spot. I think he definitely regrets it. He could have gone to, look in the standings. He could have gone to, Toronto or the Tampa Bay Rays. I know that's in the National League. I know he came from, or that was in the American League. I know he came from Toronto, but he could have stayed. Could have gone to, like I said, Tampa Bay. He should have gone to a place where he could have been successful. I know when Jacob talked about Stroman coming here, I didn't like the move only because I was like, how is he going to be successful here? And he hasn't been. I think he should have gone to a contending team.
So, Jordan, I'm going to bring you back in a few minutes. We're going to talk the Cubs-St. Louis series. I want to switch it up. I want to bring in the Pundits Pundit, Mr. Ubbs himself, and talk a little about the Contreras and Happ move. And, we're going to see what he has to think. So, Jordan, you hit the road, and Mr. Ubbs, you come in. Ready? Poof. Wow, that was pretty good.
What's going on?
See, I got magical powers. I went poof. And
What do I think of the Happen Contreras deal? I'm not apologizing. Not apologizing on that one like Ross did. Here, it's, for one thing, I'm going to bring that up with Ross. Why did you apologize? Oh, I don't want the kids to see it. Yeah, kids, like second graders are doing that to each other now. I mean, you kind of read the room a little bit in this world. You can't pretend that this doesn't happen. Can't pretend fourth graders aren't talking trash with very ugly words. It just is. Do we like it? No, but it is what it is. That's my thing on David Ross right now.
okay, what about Contreras and Hap? What do
Well,
you?
it's Contreras. The biggest issue about it is the fact that we have basically lost. I think we lost Contreras next year. We lost him. It's done. This team's nowhere near contending in the first place. They're nowhere near any kind of. It's like, and the fact remains that it's fact. What are we going to do with pitchers, especially hypothetically? Do they keep Ross? Pitchers aren't going to want to go with him because it's like, for instance, like 5 of the last 6 games, they got 4 innings. You can't get wins. You can't get wins past 5, and they're going 4. And here's the question about this. What is this 4-inning deal going with here? What's the point of this? It's like, oh, I want to give everybody. Is this a democratic system? Is this a democratic system? It's like, we got to give everybody a chance? Because really, you would think that you're a losing team and it's over. You'd want to get. I mean, Adam Wainwright tonight had 106 pitches. He's 40 years old.
I don't get it. I don't think he's a good manager. Nice guy. I have nothing bad to say about the man personally. But when it comes to managing a team, I'm very hard. I like who I like, and I can tell you who I like. The guy that's in Flushing, Buck Showalter. His act doesn't last long. I went down to the spring training for the Baltimore Orioles the year he was gone, the following year, and they hired a bunch of new coaches. And I heard the same thing from everybody. And this is what I heard when he left the Yankees. His act lasts a few years because he pushes and he gets the most out of his guys. And after a few years, it runs its course and it just doesn't work anymore.
So he's Dusty Baker.
Right. But those few years, you're going to be in contention. You're going to have a shot to win. I'll take a few good years and, change management.
Here's the thing about David Ross. Here's the thing about David Ross. Biggest thing about him is the fact that he was a catcher, okay? Means he called the game. He called the game like when he's with his pitcher. His certain pitcher was John Lester. But when you're a catcher, you call a game. It means you're on that field. You would think that he'd be perfect under the management. But here's the thing. If you're going to do that, why don't you go into the minor leagues first? Go into anywhere first. Learn. He's sitting next to Madden, who could not be the worst teacher. Because a teacher has a certain pattern. They have a certain style. Madden never had a pattern. Madden was fun. Don't get me wrong. Love your invisible water bottle, by the way. Madden was fun. Madden knows the game of baseball. Do not get that wrong. But you don't learn from someone like him because he doesn't even know what he's doing. It's his gut feeling. It's kind of Joe Madden is every 1980s detective ever who doesn't have a strategy. They just have a gut feeling. Then they go in and go beat everybody up. You get my point.
So my question for you right now is: the problem ownership, or is the problem the GM, or is the problem Ross, or is it
all of it? All of it. The ownership by itself, and I brought this up with Garpax in Chicago at the Bulls. They absolutely did the most unnecessary rebuild you could ever see in your life. Then you end up getting Jim Boylan. And then you knew the disaster that Billy Donovan had to build there. It was unnecessary, and they've had to rebuild something that didn't need to be necessary. It's been unnecessary now because of COVID. They were so afraid to lose all that money. They lost a ton of that money in COVID. And now they're playing like they're a 85-year-old woman that's afraid to live 15 more years and outdo her money. They just are. And I mean, they are literally acting like a fixed income. And then plus the fact the reason they didn't lose him tonight, we didn't lose Happen Contreras. The reason they didn't get traded, I absolutely believe this. It's because every other team knows they're desperate. They're desperate now. They're acting desperate.
Interesting. Well, I mean, you know what they did? Wow, just saw Vince Scully passed away, everybody. 94 years old.
Oh. That's a legend.
I'm going to segue for a quick second. So years ago, when they first started the MLB package, living in New York, I would get the MLB package and I would just put the Dodgers game on at night as I lay there and get ready for bed and just watch the Dodger game just to listen to Vince Scully announce. I mean, I actually started enjoying watching the Dodgers. But, prayers to the Dodger family, the Scully family, and everyone out there that, related and friends, family, and the whole organization.
Well, he lived a long and very fruitful life, and he was a great man. Not just a great announcer. I mean, the top of the class man. I mean, he treated everybody like they were his brother, his friend, everything. And then when you listen to him, you always believe. It's like for instance, here's the thing: you listen to Harry Carey, he's your buddy in the bar with too many drinks. You listen to Vince Scully, he's the kindly old grandpa with a lot of stories in life.
And you know what? To do what he did by himself, to just sit there.
Hello? 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 Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Hello?
To keep enjoying the game.
There you are.
And, entertained for 3 hours. A baseball game's a long time. To do that by yourself for 3 hours and keep your interest, he did a great job. Because that'll never be able to be done again.
Well, you got to realize I tried Pundits Pundit twice by myself. And I went about an hour 40 each, and I couldn't segue worth a lick. It's part of the reason I love having Jenn around, love having Jay around, play something up. Doing it alone, I've done 25 stand-up comedy. I've done 25 stand-up comedy open mic nights. And it's like I struggle at 3.5 minutes on the 5-minute hit. Got to give it, to be able to do an hour is unreal. So it's like if you can go 3 hours and talk and keep things going without needing a segue and playing off somebody, you're amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it'll never be able to be done again, in my opinion, in baseball. People don't have the attention span to sit there and talk for 3 hours, let alone, But what a shame. That's one of the great ones, unfortunately, passed away. Vince Scully, 94. But back to the Cubs.
Yeah.
So you see teams like the Padres today making huge splashes, going against Soto, and yesterday they went out and got Hader, and you see a team like that that's going all in to win. And, the Padres always, their MO was they were a small market team. They can't really compete. That was their thing for years. And all of a sudden, their payroll's up there. They have, $50 million invested in a couple of guys, and then they got Soto coming in, and you see that, and you look at the Cubs, a big city, probably the third biggest city in the country, more money than you could shake a stick at, no problem selling out Wrigley Field, even when the Cubs are bad. So the Ricketts are making money, and you see a team like San Diego go and do this. How does that make you feel as a Cubs fan?
Oh, it's not shocking right now. I mean, I'm not going to get mad because I saw the Cubs when they won the World Series. They made moves. You know what I'm saying? You make moves when you think you can win, but like I said, they made some monstrous mistake on this. They just did. They made a monstrous mistake. We're going to lose Contreras. I mean, Contreras hated the idea of losing. Yeah, he was hugging and he was saying goodbye, and he does love Wrigley Field. In the end, he wasn't in control. When you leave under a free agency, you're in control. Did you see that one guy in Boston the other night? I'm just saying, or Houston or whatever. I'm trying to figure which. They're trying to ask him questions, and then they're leading him off the field.
Wow.
They're leading him off the field because he's trying to ask questions, and they're like, it's almost treating it like back in the show of West Wing when they led Toby out in the 7th season. You know, and it's like, yeah, it's like that. And it's like, Toby did a crime, but I'm just saying that guy didn't do a crime. But here's the thing. They wonder why these players don't have loyalty. Then you see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame to see the whole situation mismanaged and handled so poorly. Bring Jordan back on because we're going to wrap up. We're doing a short show tonight because we're short-staffed.
Don't you need me for the Giants series?
So we're actually not even going to talk series right now. We're going to just focus on the trade deadline stuff. So right now, you know, we saw what the Cubs did at the trade deadline. This season's done. You know, we're still going to talk Cub baseball the rest of the year, but
sure.
In the shortened version, 30 seconds each of you. Jacob, you go first. What do the Cubs need to do with what they have this year in the offseason to be contenders next year?
Well, Ross, for one thing, get out. And I really thought he was going to be done after that horrible Yankees series, but I was wrong on that. Really, overall, decide where you're going. Meaning, decide where you're going with this, which means I am telling you this part right now. If you have an idea, a specific idea, and I'm going to say what is happening with the Bears right now, all that, the Cubs need to be really doing. But they, you know, it's like trying to figure this out. That's what the Cubs need to be doing. Guess what? Hendricks, go.
Why is the Revs logo up there? I wonder what our producer is doing in the background.
He's trying to win another Super Bowl. But still, it's but no. But the thing is, what the Bears have done and what they're, they got rid of Mack. They got rid of this is what the Cubs need to do. Okay, bye to Hendricks. Okay, say goodbye to Stroman. I'm saying Stroman. Stroman's been there a year. Say goodbye to him. I mean, say goodbye to Happ. Say goodbye to Contreras. Literally go Baltimore and win 41 games.
So that's the Pundits Pundit. Make sure you're watching his show. What time is your show on, Jacob, for everybody?
Oh, it's on 8 o'clock on Thursday nights.
8 o'clock Thursday night at Basket Bros on Sunday at 8. Make sure you're watching both of those great shows. Jordan, 30 seconds. What are the Cubs going to do?
You have to figure out if you're really going to do a full rebuild, like Jacob was saying, or what are you going to do? Stand pat? I think, honestly, the best thing to do is if we're going to go full rebuild, do what Jacob said. Get rid of Kyle Hendricks. Get rid of Stroman. Rebuild this thing. Yes, we may win 40 games this year, or next year, I should say, but you need to rebuild the right way. We can't just say, oh, we're on sort of a rebuild like we did last year, and then this year not do anything. So we got to go full rebuild.
And by the way, and the ghost of Phil Cavaretta as the manager.
And Jordan, where can people find you?
You can follow me, obviously, here on the Sideline Sports Network. I'm on the NFL and NBA carousels, as well as my sports blog that I write Mondays through Thursdays with podcasts on Fridays at sports-scoop.com. And I also have my own live stream show, which is on Fridays, but it will drop on the networks on Saturdays, called Under Review.
So, guys, this was a abbreviated "What Are You Doing to Me This Week" Cubs show. Remember, when you turn on the TVs tomorrow, you'll see Contreras and Happ in their Cubby pinstripes. Who knows what the rest of this year will bring. David Ross is still in the dugout. I don't know, but that's the show for tonight.
If we win 60, it'll be a miracle.
The Cubs-Rams team, as our producers, has created us. But until next week, we'll be back to our regular show. We just wanted to take it a little bit lighthearted and figure out what was going on in the city of Chicago today. Because I don't know what the Ricketts are doing. I don't know what, anybody's doing in the front office with, Carter Hawkins, Jed Hoyer, or the Ricketts, where we head from here. Maybe we build a bigger scoreboard. Maybe that's the answer to the Cubs winning, but I don't know. But until next week, I'm JB Ellis. It was a pleasure. Watch Sideline Sports, all the great shows, 7 nights a week. Mr. Producer, take us out of here. Wow. I was